Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in. It is Saturday, so it's another mailbag edition. Going to be joined by Austin Brubaker here in just a minute. Austin does such a wonderful job with his analysis, and so super excited to be joined by him. And we're also going to talk not just a mailbag edition, we're also going to talk about some of the great action from last night. Juliourias was simply fantastic. He pitched like an ace. The Dodgers offense was balanced. AAA Oklahoma City, they won a comeback game. Ryan Pepiot, he was very good last night. So was Gusvarland. Mike Montgomery pitched very well as well for them. Nicknastrini pitched well for AA Tulsa. And Great Lakes, they had another comeback win. And Austin, as we bring you in, I know you're super pumped because you got to see that Great Lakes comeback with your own eyes from behind home plate last night.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I was sitting right behind home plate. If you actually watch the footage, I'm like right dead center, kind of where the game actually is. Really exciting game, really team win. The pitching staff kind of pulled through, kind of battled through some adversity. And then the offensive side, they dealt with some offensive struggles throughout the game, grounded, hit into a couple of double plays. But when the game really mattered, it was a really team effort in that win. You saw Damonkeith start off the ninth inning with a single, which is really important when you're down, just getting that leadoff hitter on. And then Chrisnewell was able to hit one down the third base line for a base hit. You saw bubbaalleyne hit a game-tying single opposite field. You saw Jakevogel work a walk to load the bases loaded. And then tayloryoung with a game-winning hit. You love to see that. You love to see the team environment that they have and that they're building throughout the Dodgers organization.
Ryan Pepiot, he pitched last night. He went his 2 scheduled innings. He was very good. He gave up just 1 run. He had 2 strikeouts. He had 1 walk. He touched 96 with his 4-seam, and it had as high as 2466 spin, which, hey, anything over 2300 is very good, and that's definitely in the 4-seam category. He threw his change 7 times. He got the Rivercast to swing at his change 3 times, and of the 3 swings, he had 2 swings and misses. And he also had a cutter. We've talked about Ryan Pepiot. He's able to make his slider a little bit smaller, make it cutterish looking. Then he can also add depth when he's in plus counts and make it bigger for swing and miss. So Ryan Pepiot last night, his cutter had as much as 31 inches of vertical drop. So good to see Ryan Pepiot back.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see that. I just kind of saw the stat line. Really good to see. Want to see him perform really well. Good to see him back on the pitching mound first, though.
Nicknastrini went 6 innings last night. He had 8 Ks. He was fantastic. He did give up 3 runs, but man, it was all on soft contact. I believe he gave up 6 hits, and 4 of those were like 60 mile an hour. Just 1 triple was just placed absolutely perfectly. So, hey, he was fantastic. He didn't walk anybody. He had a lot of strikeout stuff, had some just bad luck that led to the 3 runs. But Nicknastrini, and he went long again. He's been going longer lengths for the AA Tulsa Drillers. So Nicknastrini was very good last night.
Yeah, no, really have enjoyed watching him pitch when he was down in Great Lakes. Seeing him get some of that length, pitch 6 innings, really good. You're going to be dealing with that in the Texas League. Texas League, much more of a hitters of environment, and some of those just frustrating. But overall, sounds like it was a really good performance. Was able to still get some of that swing and miss. Really excited for what he's able to bring in the future.
Mike Montgomery, left-handed pitcher that has a world of major league experience. I know you as a statistician, Austin, you love, those numbers of guys with major league experience, minor league contracts. He went 5 innings last night, and he went scoreless and again had 7 Ks on the night and no walks. So he did work around some trouble, but it was good to see Mike Montgomery. And, hey, maybe, who knows, with the trade deadline coming around, the Dodgers, if they need some innings eaten, who knows if he's a major league player. I've said before, I think he's at the top of the line right now. If you wanted to dip into your guys, with major league experience at a minor league contract at the AAA level, if you want to dive into that pool, I think he's probably at the top of the list.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'd love to see that, and love to see the comeback story of Mike Montgomery working his way back to the major leagues. That would be really cool to see.
Gusvarland, holy cow, man. This guy's hitting 98. His spin rate is over 2,400, which is fantastic. He's got a lot of ride. He doesn't have a whole lot of horizontal or vertical break to that 4-seam right now. So that fastball with spin over 2,400 is really riding the top of the zone. His slider looks very good, and he also sprinkled in a changeup last night. So Gusvarland, hey, I think as far, you talk about trades, but I think this guy, he started the major leagues this year, got Rule 5, got sent back after he was injured with Milwaukee. But this guy, I think, could help at the major league level right now.
There's still a ton of potential left in Gusvarland. You can see that. Milwaukee saw that when they did the Rule 5 draft. Dodgers are lucky to have him back. He still has stuff that he can work on, but he is right on the door, pushing to be part of this Dodgers bullpen, and watch out.
Miguel Vargas had his first game in AAA last night after being sent back down. And, hey, a lot of times we saw this with Austin Barnes in 2019. Seen it before that when you go back, you're going back down and maybe having a mental reset, maybe a mechanical reset from a physical perspective too. Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better because you're working on certain things, that aren't results based, that may lead to worse results to get better results in the past or in the future to get those changes made. Don't know if that's Miguel Vargas right now, but hey, he had his first game last night, 0 for 3 with Oklahoma City. That's not alarming. I do think it's going to take him a minute to find his swing and get back within the groove. So, hey, Miguel Vargas, he was with AAA Oklahoma City last night. So your thoughts on him?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he needs some time just as more of a mental reset to get into his mechanics a little bit more, to try to really think about what made Miguel Vargas so special in the minor leagues and try to work into that. Giving him some time to work on it down there, a little bit less pressure than on the major leagues, kind of in a playoff push. I think it's going to be good for him.
All right, fans, time now for a mailbag, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. All right, so question number one on the mailbag, I think the Jakemarisnick, that pickup took all of the Dodgers fans by surprise. So the question is, why do you think the Dodgers picked up Jakemarisnick? I'm of the opinion that, hey, with Miguel Vargas going down, and, a lot of times that the Dodgers, they pinch hit for James Outman against lefties late in games, and with Miguel Vargas going down now, Mookiebetts is going to have to play some second base. So you needed that defensive guy first, and I think that, they realized they needed to find consistent at bats for Johnny DeLuca, wherever that may be. So I think those two factors, my opinion, are what picked up, or why the reasons why the Dodgers picked up Jakemarisnick.
Yeah, no, and I think you're exactly right there. So I'm obviously live in the state of Michigan, so I get a lot of exposure to the Tigers. And Jakemarisnick picked up by the Tigers during the summer, right before Riley Green went down. Very much a defensive-minded outfielder. If you look at a lot of the StatCast data, he very much is incredibly valuable at the outfield, at playing his position. He's got elite sprint speed. The bat isn't quite there. So this isn't a guy who's going to be relied upon solely for his bat. But I think the Dodgers kind of realized that they didn't really have, at least right now, a role for Johnny DeLuca. And I know that for both of us, to know how good Johnny DeLuca is, that's kind of disappointing. But the reality is they're not giving him at-bats. And he needs consistent at-bats to make sure that he continues to work, he continues to grow in his hitting ability. If you're just sitting on the bench a whole lot, you're not growing. And what you can do is you can get a really strong defensive outfielder. You can get a guy who can come off the bench, has elite sprint speed. I think that's going to be a better utilization of both Marisnick skills, and it's going to be better for Johnny DeLuca in the long run, giving him some of those consistent at-bats, even if they're not on the AAA, or even if they are on the AAA team. I think that's going to be best for the Dodgers, and I think that's why they made this move.
Question number two in the mailbag, very tough question, Austin. Do you think Miguel Vargas will be at the major league level again this year with the Dodgers?
Yeah, it is a very tough question. I still believe in Miguel Vargas. I still believe in his ability. I think he needs to work on what made him great in the minor leagues. And you saw that swing in the minor leagues of him hitting to that right center field gap, focusing on that and focusing on hitting a lot of line drives. That is what made Miguel Vargas special. And if he can tap into that, if he can tap into what had made him a great hitter at the minor league level, you'll see him in no time in the major league level. Will he be able to make those adjustments this year? I don't know the answer to that. And it will be up to Miguel Vargas to work on making those adjustments to force his way back on the major league team. He probably will be up at some point. I don't think he'll have the exact same role that he had when he got sent down.
All right, question number 3 in our mailbag, Austin. Another very difficult question. Of course, it's trade season. Rumors are floating just everywhere as far as the Dodgers and what they might do. So the question is, are there any untouchable prospects in the organization?
Any untouchables? I would say, well, it depends on how you define untouchables. That makes this question really unique. As far as any guys that the Dodgers would not trade for the right price, you have to say that answer is no. There always is a price that can be met. There always is value that can be that you can go ahead and trade. It really depends on who you are targeting, how long you are planning on getting them for, and what price point you're going to be able to meet.
I've said this many times, but I think the trade market is a win-win because your prospects get a cleaner path to the major leagues, and then the Dodgers get a cleaner path to an immediate World Series. And no matter what you do, if you win a World Series, the season is a success. All the moves you made have been a success because that is the only goal. Doesn't matter if you don't play any prospects or how many prospects you play or what moves you made. If you figure out a way to win a World Series, that is the ultimate goal. So, having said that, hey, whatever move you feel like you need to make to put yourself in, because of course the playoffs are always a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen. But whatever move you need to make the World Series and to win the World Series, I think you have to be aggressive with that.
Yeah, no, and you have to be willing to make the moves to win a World Series, and you have to be conscious of the long-term success of the organization, which makes the trade deadline so interesting, so unique, is because you're thinking about both of those components at the exact same time. Dodgers are going to do what they think is best, both for this season and for the long-term future and health of the organization.
All right, so another tough question. Here's the big one. Shohei Ohtani, he is the big prize in free agency in the offseason after the season is over. But the question is, should the Dodgers pursue him in a trade? Of course, you'd have to give up several top 100 prospects as far as your top 100 prospects in all of minor league baseball. You'd probably have to give up multiple top 10 prospects, 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4, who knows. So it'd be a huge price tag, especially knowing that you can just go get him in free agency. So should the Dodgers pursue Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah, no, this is, I think, the big question that Dodgers fans have is, would you actually go after Ohtani? Would you look into that trade? 100 million %. You're talking about the best player in the major leagues that helps your offense tremendously and helps your pitching staff, which needs a lot of help. I think you have to look into that. I think you have to see kind of what that price tag is. See if the Angels would be even willing to deal him. Would they even be willing to work with the Dodgers? Those are two questions that we don't know the answer to. Angels are kind of falling out of the playoff race. So logically, it would make sense that the Angels would try to trade him. However, would they actually trade him? Would their front office actually pull the trigger? I don't know the answer to that. So with this, I would definitely pursue Ohtani. And this opinion of mine has changed over the past week and a half or so. I think if you have a chance to add the best player in the Major League Baseball, plus I think that gives you a little bit of advantage if you're looking to re-sign him potentially in the offseason. That could be something that is really beneficial. It would cost a lot, and it would really suck. But I think this would give you, if you wanted to pursue this, probably the best chance to win the World Series if you add another one of those, or at least increase your odds just a little bit more to win the World Series. And that ultimately is the goal, and that's what you have to be thinking about.
All right, the next question, our mailbag, is the draft just happened. Exciting time of year. You have trade season. You have the draft just happened. So, hey, I know we did the show, Austin, but who is the one draft pick that you would like to continue to talk about on today's show?
Yeah, so Dodgers obviously got a whole bunch of different prospects in the Major League Draft. We did a show on that a couple days ago when we talked in depth about a lot of these guys, going through rounds 1 through 10, basically going over the kind of the first 10 picks in the draft. And Dodgers have a lot of guys that they can utilize and be really excited about in the future. One guy that I'm super excited about, kind of that big kind of power role that very much could see in Great Lakes at some point, and that is Jake Geloff. I think he could be somebody that could be utilized at Great Lakes in the very, very near future. I think he probably starts at Rancho. But for a potential playoff run, obviously we saw Dalton Rushing come up to Great Lakes last year for the playoff run specifically. I think he could potentially be one of those big, impactful power bats that could be utilized in a playoff run. And that's one thing that I'm excited about for him.
I'm going to cop out a little bit, and I'm going to go one position player and one pitcher. The position player, I talked about it in length in our video on the draft, and that would be Dylan Campbell out of Texas. Elite speed, power, has it all. I've seen it with my own eyes. And then on the pitching side, I'm going to go with Trey Brown and that Vulcan change. Okay, so our next question in the mailbag, Austin, is, okay, who is the one player in the Dodgers system that nobody is talking about and that should be right now?
Yes, yeah. So I'm going to go, and I know this is a player that if you watch Dodgers Daily, you've heard a lot about this season. If you're within some of the Dodgers crowd, you probably have heard his name. Although it honestly, for a lot of casual Dodgers fans, they probably have not heard of this player, and nobody at the broad scale national level is talking about Austin Gauthier and just how good he has been. So the stat that I'm going to use to kind of illustrate this, it is weighted runs above average, WRAA. And if you don't know what that is, that's totally fine. It's not the most utilized statistic. It is one that is utilized as far as calculating rated runs created plus, WRC plus. If you know what that is, it just kind of helps evaluate the overall offensive performance of a player. So 100 is league average. Anything above 100 is above league average. Anything below 100 is below league average. So for example, the Pacific Coast League, very much a hitter-friendly environment versus the Midwest League, much more of a pitcher-friendly environment, is trying to neutralize some of those factors. Now, what rated runs above average is, it is a cumulative statistic, meaning over time you add to that. So if you're consistently above league average, if your weighted runs created plus is consistently above league average, that means you're going to add more to rated runs above average. So for example, if you have a player that has only 20 at-bats versus a player that has 200 at-bats, and they both have a WRC plus of 150, the weighted runs above average is going to reflect that. It's going to be cumulative. So what I'm going to go, so with all of that background explanation, just kind of helping understand this a little bit more, here is the minor league baseball leaderboard in weighted runs above average. This isn't for Midwest League. This is not for the Texas League. This is for all of minor league baseball. You have at number 1, we have from Baltimore, Kobe Mayo. Number 2, we have Jackson Holliday from Baltimore, number 1 prospect in baseball. Number 3 in all of baseball, all of minor league baseball. Any guesses who that is? Austin Gauthier. He is number 3 in all of baseball in rated runs above average, meaning that he has been one of the most consistently productive hitters this season in all of minor league baseball, which is insane. And what's insane is nobody is talking about Austin Gauthier. You talk about him, he walks more than he strikes out. He has walks 18.2%, strikes out 16.5%. You're talking about a walk percentage greater than his K percentage, which is something that is rare in this game. You're talking about an ISO 202. We talk a lot about on the show your ISO being greater than your K percentage, which is actually rare to find. You see that here, which means that he's not just a guy who's hitting for average, getting lucky with some batted balls. He's also hitting for some power as well. You look at the overall stat line, he's hitting 319, 444, 521, which equals a 966 OPS. He is not just hitting because he's been in the Texas League, because he's been in the Midwest League as well. If you adjust for some of those factors, he has been one of the most, or top 3, I should say, best hitters in all of minor league baseball. And it's been really cool to see what he's been able to do, how he approaches the game. That's somebody that I want to highlight.
My guy that I think needs more attention is Gusvarland. I think he's imminent to the major league level. I talked about this earlier. He's 98 on the fastball. The right is incredible. His results have been fantastic. He's a 3-pitch guy right now. I think people are seeing the Rule 5 draft. They don't realize he actually got hurt with Milwaukee. That played a huge factor in him getting returned. He had one bad outing, but it was more so that he got hurt. They probably didn't want to take the chance on putting him on a 26 spot with an injury like that. So he got returned, and he has been nothing but fantastic with AAA Oklahoma City.
No, nobody's talking about him specifically because they see him get returned after the Rule 5 draft. They kind of make assumptions off of that. He is still incredibly talented and somebody that Dodgers fans should not forget about.
All right, Austin, great show again today. I certainly appreciate you joining me on all these, the draft shows and the mailbags and all the stuff we've been doing as of late, the reports on the Loons from, eye perspective, meaning that you were at the game. So certainly appreciate all that. So final thoughts before we get out of here.
Yeah, so great show today. Really enjoyed doing these. Really excited to see Dodgers have been performing well, even though it's been the All-Star break. Coming out of the All-Star break, big win last night. Loons had a big win as well. Really excited to see how that team is coming together. Next couple of weeks are going to be really big for this organization and for what they're going to do leading into the trade deadline, leading into the postseason. Feel pretty good about where this team is at now. How can they get that much better to help them pursue that World Series ring that we want and we need them to get?
So the Dodgers are 52-34, and I know a lot of Dodgers fans were not happy with the way the offseason went. They wanted, LA and the front office to go out and get all the big name guys, but you look at the Padres, they're 8.5 games back. And you look at the Mets, who the Dodgers beat last night, 18.5 games back from first place. Those two teams were probably the two biggest spenders. So you go out and you get a J.D. Martinez. Of course, Noah Syndergaard didn't work out. You go out and get a David Peralta, and you get guys that have filled some holes. You're still in first place, and then you've also gotten to use 12 rookies. You have 2 of them in your starting rotation right now. One of them is your starting center fielder. So all in all, I think, you've had your cake and you've eaten it too to this point. You've gotten to stay in first place, also use your rookies. So I'd have to say that, although it didn't look all that sexy on the hoof, I think offseason last year was actually very strategic and very good for the Dodgers.
Yeah, no, I think they're incredibly smart with the way they handle it. You give some experience to a lot of these younger guys. And I think the thing that is really important with this, you don't tie your hands down by giving out a lot of big, long-term contracts to a lot of these players, which you already have with Mookiebetts, you already have with Freddie Freeman. You're going to have to keep that in mind if you want to sign Shohei Ohtani. You're having a lot of these big contracts. If you add in a couple of 3-4 year, $20 million a year contracts that might fit a need that you have, it might not. You just don't know exactly because at the beginning of the season, you don't know where your needs are going to be. We wouldn't have predicted that shortstop would have been in need because we didn't know that Gavin Lux was going to get hurt. I think using the trade market, especially because of the talent that the Dodgers have in the organization to get exactly what they need, was the right approach. And so I know it was frustrating. I know the offseason, you kind of watch your team to get all the big names just because there's that excitement when nothing is going on. But I think the Dodgers were wise. I think they were smart getting some of those short-term deals to help what they think they needed to get. So your hands aren't tied down. Get your prospects some experience, and then whatever you need, you go get in at the trade deadline.
I've said this on several different occasions, but the trade market is a better market than the free agency market for the Dodgers because the Dodgers have so many resources. Really, the only thing that can keep them from being in position to win a World Series every year is if they go out and they sign those long-term contracts in free agency. So the trade market, you get the same type of impact player, but you can get the smaller type contracts in terms of years. So I think that's a better setup for the Dodgers. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, you you will obviously want to go 162-0. But the reality is that's not going to be the case. And especially with how good this Dodgers team already was with the talent that they have, being able to get a little bit of a better idea of what you have at the major league level with a lot of these prospects, being able to get them through some adversity that perhaps they didn't really have to deal with last season, I think is going to be better for this team in the long term, if you look in years down the road, and for potentially what could be a postseason run.
And also, I think the Dodgers thought Noah Syndergaard at the very worst would at least be maybe a number 5 that could eat some innings, and that didn't happen. So that was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, no, that's been a little bit disappointing. You kind of learn baseball. You're not going to bat 1,000 with a lot of these signings, and you just learn and then you adapt. Which Dodgers are at the stage where they can and will adapt.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's show. We also hope you tune in. The next show that I will bring you will be Monday morning. We'll have a lot of action to get to. Hopefully another couple Dodgers wins and a great weekend of minor league action over the weekend. Hey, just a reminder, fans, if you'd like to help Dodgers Daily, we have the link to our GoFundMe account in our description. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. Tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily. Share this video, like this video, keep interacting with it. That puts it in the algorithm for YouTube to get it seen more. The more it gets seen, the more we can grow, the more we can keep providing content like this in the future, and make sure that your notifications are turned on. As always, would like to say thank you for tuning in, and go Dodgers.